Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market report for Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll notice right now we've had a little bit of a pullback here over the last day to 2 days here from the recent high. Price retested the top end of the pivot range and bounced out of that range here already in pre-market trading. This right now looks pretty solid from a reversal standpoint. The ES has already seen a rally of 94% of ADR from the day's lows, so it's almost at an average day's range over the last 10 days already, heading into pre-market, with still more pre-market to go and heading into RTH. So again, the point is this is a pretty solid reversal. The point though here, the pivot to watch, is going to be the previous session's midpoint. That's the key level. It's 29.0175. It's prior day lows. Price went offered through there yesterday. Now it's resistance. This is the zone that needs to hold, and price needs to close back above that area in order for this market to continue higher. Again, we continue to remain in a very bullish uptrending phase, and any pullback remains a buying opportunity for overall uptrending behavior into the next upside target zone, which again we had as shallow as 2950 and as high as 2980 to 3000. So I mean, we have a pretty good zone up here that we could reach sometime over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And again, right now, as long as this pivot range continues to hold, the uptrending and upside bias remains intact from a longer term perspective. But near term, keep an eye on 29.0175 for today's pivot. Here's a look at the NQ. Now the NQ has not fared as well as the ES. This one with a lower high, pretty aggressive sell-off. Tariffs on China has been the talk, obviously, and that's pulled back some of the leaders in the group. And so far we're back to kind of a midline here, which has been support for the most part. Again, the overall uptrend remains intact. One thing that has been very interesting about the NQ is that no prior pivot low has been taken out throughout this uptrend. Every time it forms a prior pivot low, it basically holds it each and every time. And so right now we're very, very close to taking out that pivot low for the first time in this uptrend since it really began last spring here. And so again, it's held every single one, and right now we're kind of at that zone where either it starts to break down and we drop lower down to the next lowest support level, which is that 7200 level, or perhaps again bulls come in to defend and we turn back up to retest 7600 and perhaps break through those highs. So again, we remain within the uptrending structure at the moment. Lots of headline risk at the moment that's kind of pulling prices back down, but the framework remains intact. The failure here, again, if there's any failure to hold 7400, it opens up at least 200 more handles down, which could be significant. So again, keeping an eye on that zone right there. Now taking a look at crude, this one is up 1.3% today. It has been mostly the up a day, down a day type of thing as price continues to compress within this larger range. You can see right here that range that's developed, this range here. And for the most part, it's doing this right now. It's doing that. It's just doing this. And so we could continue to see that type of compression. That's why I mentioned the intraday trading could be fantastic in crude. Lots of back and forth. But for the most part, until we're ready to see expansion, we could see more of that back and forth action. So if you're up in a trade, take what the market gives you. Eventually, we will see expansion. With a failed new low right here, it would be significant if price were to start to find acceptance above 70, because now we could be looking at a stop run day through 70 that takes us higher. So again, keep an eye on that zone based off of how today's behavior has already played out. Watch 70, because any acceptance through 70 could have a stop run day up, and that could start to forecast things as high as about 7150 to 7170. So continue to watch that zone there. Here is a look at RTY. Now RTY has been the one that's kind of been lazy here, holding off the top end of the range. This one has had everything it's needed to really push higher. It's had many great rejections, but it hasn't gone yet. And that's been the case with this one. It's been more sideways for the most part. Eventually it gets a thrust. Right now it's seen kind of a flag pattern develop here in the uptrending market. It continues to hold 1700, which is the breakout point, and that is bullish in and of itself. And again, by defending down here, the expectation is eventually you get the upside break and rally, but at the very least you can come up here and test the upper end of the range, and that could be back toward recent highs. So again, right now bulls are trying to keep 1700 bid for a continuation higher. Failure to hold that level, I think it's clear that's where the stops are now. That opens up a return back towards 1676. All right, lastly, taking a look at the YM. The YM looks bullish. It hasn't really run away with anything just yet, but it continues to work within the bullish framework of this trend. You can see an uptrending market here. Higher value relationship with the pivot range, pullback below, prices below the previous month's close, all defended at the pivot range, prices above it. Now it's retesting from above. All of this suggests more upside, and it could be pretty fierce. And so again, whenever you're building out that much energy up here, look how much sideways we have. It's a pretty narrow range. If we even were to break it down into ADR here, using the PivotBoss Advanced ADR indicator, we can say tack on 10 right here, and you can just see over the last 10 days, look at, generally speaking, how narrow the 10-day range is compared to what it had been. You know, when it gets really volatile on a 10-day range basis, it can move 1,200 points easy. And right now we're trading about 600, so there's about double the points here potentially ahead. If we go about 1,200 points, that could take us much higher, say 27.4 on a breakout of 26.2. From the 2,600 low, it could be 27. It could be 27.2. So I mean, again, we could see much more upside just from the recent low here. Is forecasting 26.9 to 27.3 as a monthly target. We are way below that right now. So again, compression leads to expansion. Right now this is a significant phase of compression. Does it give us the expansion we're looking for? Perhaps it could be to the upside given the overall ability to hold and maintain market structure. Again, failure to hold, for example, this LVN here around 25.6 or the midpoint of the last month's range, 25.57, those would be the significant areas where this thing fails unless we get some sort of rejection up high. So right now all signs point to more upside, and again, it could be as high as 27.2. We'll continue to watch this situation as it develops. All right, that is it for now. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room.